Sound of alarm. Sound of alarm. Sound of alarm. Welcome once again to another episode of the Craig Smith Podcast. Today I am here with a very special co-host, the one, the only, the incomparable, the friendly, the data-driven, EDM producing, brand excellence cultivating, Hispanic American.
Oh my God!
Fresh to death. Cesar Marquez, also known as Haze. Say hello.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Here with Craig Smith on the Craig Smith Podcast. Craig Smith is prolific.
Oh my God!
I'm thankful just to be on here. We need to have we have to go through this whole admiration session before.
We don't have to do that at all. Thank you for doing this. I know you needed a fresh cut. You over here looking fresh.
I told him I couldn't come on
pause.
unless I had a haircut. So
dope. So I want to get right into some things. I told you before we started rolling, I don't want this to be like I'm interviewing you. I just want to talk through some things because I like your perspective on things, the way that you look at some things. I did want to make an announcement to anybody who's listening or watching. And you can just tell me how you digest this. Pause. God,
sure.
I gotta stop. Anyway, so I've been feeling really burned out and actually watching you produce tracks in your office and watching you record and everything really sort of gave me this insight into this passion that I've lost over the years.
Okay.
Right. So in a lot of ways, I don't get excited about music the way I used to, particularly excited about a career in music the way I used to, even with, having placements and even with, people telling me that everything is dope and, all of these things. Like when it comes to actually, if somebody's like, let's go make some music, I'm like, nah, And so I took some time to sort of recalibrate why I was doing what I was doing and what I want to do in the future and whatnot. And a lot of my aspiration has nothing to do with music, but while I am in this moment where, placements are coming in and,
sure.
There's a growing sort of buzz on the undercurrent. I want to pivot my messaging and everything I'm doing it for and into the message of love is law. Right? Okay. So that's my
love is law.
Love is law. And that's sort of where everything is going to emanate from with my music or the podcast or whatever.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how I got there. I've been seeing 444 everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Everywhere. I've been seeing 444 on license plates. It's 444 on the time. I wake up at 4:44 in the morning sometimes.
That's unfortunate.
It's weird. I just wake up and I'm like, I don't know why I'm up. And I look at the time, and of course it's 4:44. In people's Facebook posts, sometimes somebody will send me a message and I look at it and I look at the time, it's at 4:44. Craziness, just
strange.
Yeah, it's strange to me.
I think it'd be also a thing that once it becomes a habit, now you're just
right. And so I've just started to accept it until the other day I was in the car and I just looked in my rearview mirror and there's a truck approaching and the license plate was not. It wasn't like AYX 444. It was just 444, and I was like, So I'm a dude of faith. I believe in and love Jesus. I just cuss a lot, and I do some questionable. Anyway, so what I looked at this scripture is Deuteronomy 4:44.
Okay,
and the exact scripture is I'm like this is the law that Moses passed on to the Israelites, and later on in the Bible, they asked Jesus, "What is the most important law? What's the most important commandment?" And he says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind." And love your neighbor as yourself.
Okay.
And so see, you getting the insight into my brain right now because I'm still processing all this. I'm thinking 444 is love, love, love.
Okay.
4-letter words, love, love, love.
Got it.
And Jesus is telling you love God, love your neighbor, and it implies that you love yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's my 444. So love is law. And everything that I do, I want to emanate from that. So the podcast, I'm wanting for like people to give advice, or for people to even comment with questions, or, in order to, give my neighbor this love. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I sort of got my mojo back. I know you probably heard me in there the other day. I made three references from the ground up, 3 songs.
Very nice.
And yeah, so it's slowly coming back. I want to ask you, and I guess it's turning into sort of an interview. I guess till some people talk, ask questions on Facebook.
Okay.
But I want to ask you, like, do you have what drives you to like do things? Because like I'm telling you, like when I'm walking by and you're like, you're there working, I'm like, crap, you're there cooking, and I have nothing.
That's not true, though, man. Of course, obviously, you're making music. Although you say that you were a little burnt out, but there must be some kind of thing that is being reignited when you go into the studio and you're producing tracks and making music. You make music faster than I can ever make it. I don't make it at that speed. I don't know how you do it. That's the crazy thing. Craig Smith, though. Seriously. So what drives me? Before it turned into a biographical thing, I'm a kind of person that is, when I lock on to things, it is a 1,000% on those things, and it's been that way since I was a little kid. So that was, that's always been a thing for me, whether it was sports, whether it was music, whether it was, learning, singing and all those kind of things. It was always for me, like once I attune and I decide this is what I'm going to be good at, I go and be good at it. So the driving force there is, maybe it's
you think it's like an obsessive sort of thing?
It is obsessive.
Okay.
I think it is. I think it's totally obsessive. In fact, I was just talking about this the other day with my girlfriend and my parents, and I was like, honestly, it's a little obsessive. I mean, I was obsessive about certain things. I was like, in high school, I was playing basketball, and I decided I want to dunk. And so I started then working out every day, doing jump programs for like 8 months straight until I could dunk.
Wow.
And I started dunking, and I was like, okay, I did that, right? And that happened, but then I realized, oh shit, my hands are too small. And then I was like, oh well, fuck, it's a genetic thing. I'm never gonna be awesome.
Change.
Yeah, something I can't change. So, but it was the work ethic, and that like started early. And so for me now, what drives me is, I realized, a couple years ago I was miserable, and what comes to be now, like where I'm at now. I was miserable. I was miserable working in my job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I started in a health insurance IT, and it sucks. And I realized very quickly that I couldn't be put in that box, and I didn't have the drive for it. If the drive wasn't there...
How quick did it take you to realize that you couldn't do it?
Well, I went in there, and I'd be honest, I went there because I needed the money. I needed to be secure, and I did things because I was thought, hey, I'm 23, I need to get my shit together. I've been, living in Columbia, Missouri, doing fucking college partying shit for the last 4.5 years, and my dad's pissed at me about that, and it's basically, hey, get your shit together. So I went and realized very quickly once I got that job that it was basically... 6 months in, and then I was 6 months into that job, and then I was thinking to myself, there's no room for growth here. And it wasn't just room for growth like, how in corporate America, you put your time in, you move through things. But I'm talking about personal growth. Yeah. I'm talking about like, I have this creative side of me that is not available when I go sit at my desk from 9 to 5. And it can't be. And because of the constructs of the business and the way it works. Right. So as that resentment grew, the drive was building underneath. Yeah. And so that's kind of been the thing. So I think really it is, one, I'm from a personal perspective, as I said, when I lock on to something, it is 100%. Yeah. It's never not been 100%. And sometimes those things falter and fizz out, whether that's running track, doing basketball, simply because it's a physical thing. Yeah. But then once I found music, then that drive and that movement has always been there. Yeah. And so yeah, so I think that's where I found the drive, and I continue to have that drive.
Dope.
So
Huh. See, and I was talking to my mom, and I get sort of obsessive as well, but like from when I was a kid, it was easy for me to quit stuff. So like I remember I was playing soccer when I was 5, and I remember hating it, and so I just never played soccer again. It was just that simple.
yeah,
I couldn't do it, and so I've always admired when I can see that somebody's like, I'm gonna make this happen, or I'm gonna do this, and then just do it, like come hell or high water. That's a skill that's learned for me. Like,
oh, okay,
learning how to do like video editing and graphic design and music production, all of that was out of necessity because I wanted to be a rapper.
sure,
And so like it was very hard.
yeah,
Pause. It was very difficult to do those things. I want to know from you, just and maybe this is a activity that you and I could venture into.
okay,
You're a visual person. You're somebody that looks at. I feel like you can see the whole picture of a lot of like. I'm talking about like design aesthetics
sure.
and things like that. What are some of your like? And it's shifting the conversation completely. But what are
sure.
some of your favorite like brands right now?
Brands?
Yeah.
Well, when I think about brands, I think brands are when most people think about brands, they're thinking about
Logos. Yeah.
right? They're thinking about your Nikes and your Adidas, or your clothing brands or something like that, right? But brands are everything.
Yeah.
Brands are people.
It's
Brands.
how you talk is how people feel once they
Yes,
encounter you.
it's you know what your brand is, and I'm regurgitating Gary Vee because I've always talking about Gary Vaynerchuk, but it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's your brand,
Exactly.
right? It's what people talk about when the thing is not in the room. So it's
Right.
whether you talk about Nike or you talk about Red cameras or any kind of thing like that. Those are all brands. So
Absolutely.
my favorite brands, I like shoot, I don't know, brands. I think from a technological perspective, it's the Tesla brand. I think
Yeah.
that's one of my
That's the
favorite.
one that came to my mind first too.
Yeah, Tesla, and then I mean I would be cliche to say Apple, but they are prolific and have been for a while.
I've kind of started hating Apple though.
I think Apple is on a quest that is divergent from Steve's original vision.
Yeah. From your perspective, do you? I mean, like we're not like forecasters or anything,
Sure.
but like, do you? I don't. I feel like it's different. Not different in a different way, but different in like all right, y'all trying to be Microsoft now.
Yeah, I think what it is with Apple is that the pursuit and the passion, they have reached a level and scale of global dominance
Yeah.
in the sense that at this point they are no longer, trying to be unbelievably groundbreaking.
I
In the
see.
sense, they don't have that driving force behind them, although they are making groundbreaking things.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, their reliance on their technology as being the singular part of their universe.
Right.
Like just example, just read this the other day. They came out with the HomePod, right? The new speaker.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a new speaker. But the big problem with the HomePod is it's a souped up speaker thing, a home
Yeah.
speaker that's pretty awesome, but it only uses Apple Music, right?
I see.
It's because they want that brand loyalty. They want
Right.
the diehard Apple people to focus directly on
course.
consuming their own thing. But that alienates hundreds of millions of people who don't want to use Apple Music, right? And so it's those kind of things that, yes, I understand from a brand perspective, is that once you you acquire a client or acquire a customer, you want to keep them in your ecosystem for a long period
Yeah.
of time. But I think that acquisition strategy
Yeah.
causes it to feel a little less organic, and what you're feeling is, I think that's what that is.
Yeah. I don't know, for the longest, anybody that's a student of like Steve Jobs, or even like Lord, I can't remember his name, but this guy to start with Y. He talks about basically other companies, Microsoft, if it wants to compete, or back when HP was a thing,
Sure.
if they wanted to compete with a MacBook, they would give you all the specs that this HP has this amount of RAM and it does this and it has this visual processor and all
Yep.
of that. But Apple would say, this is who you are if you buy this.
Correct.
And it feels like they've gotten away
that.
from that, and it does feel like they're just selling me shit now.
Yeah, I mean because Steve's original, that original goal was, how do you make Apple a part of your entire life,
Right.
an essential asset,
Yeah.
and something that complements your daily,
Yeah.
right? Rather than, do you need the iPhone 7 plus second version,
Right.
whatever.
Which is what kind of turned me off with the new phone rollouts, because it just felt like you're obviously competing with Samsung.
Yeah,
That's all it felt like. It didn't feel like I should buy this phone because like this is the phone of people in the future. It felt like this is the phone that we're coming out with so that we stay in market competition with Samsung.
yeah.
Which made me choose Samsung because they had the better features.
I mean, Samsung does have the better features. I mean, from a usability standpoint, I still think Apple reigns supreme, but that's because of the limitations of their design.
Right. They make it very user friendly by not letting you mess stuff up.
Yeah, and that creates hardening in the software and all that stuff, so that things don't really go awry like they do on Android phones. But I really love. Speaking of brand, the Samsung commercial with the guy,
Oh yeah, over time.
fantastic.
Yeah, I thought they was throwing hella shots in that commercial. I was like,
Hella
this
shots,
is
though.
gangster.
But it was gangster because
Yeah.
it was true the whole time. It's that Samsung. That's the thing with Apple. Apple has moved its place from being innovative, but then being let us compile these already pre-existing software and hardware
Right.
capabilities into a nicer package,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that drives the feeling of being sold to, I think.
Yeah. How do you feel about? We were talking about Tesla just a minute ago. How do you feel about Tesla? Because like, I love Tesla. Like,
Sure.
I wish I could drive a Tesla. I wish I could drive 3 Teslas at the same time because they self-drive. I wish I had a power wall. You know what I'm saying? I wish that our grid worked on the power of the Tesla, factories that they're building to power the entire grid and whatnot. But like and I think did they merge with Solar City?
I don't know.
I'm gonna Google that as
check
we're
it out.
talking, but the power of them to say a few years ago we're going to be this, and then they were facing like a huge amount of debt on behalf of one of their owners, and to come out of that and be what they said they were going to be and do like all of these ambitious things I always wonder, like, is that something that other companies can replicate?
I think it is. I think Tesla is an outlier in the sense that they're willing to take the kind of risks that other companies just simply won't. But that also is attributed to Elon himself.
Yeah.
It is the singular head of the company, his singular massive drive. I read up on Elon and how he really did come from nothing.
Yeah.
He came from nothing. He was like, he moved over here.
In a somewhat abusive home too.
Yeah, it was an abusive home. He ended up taking some random job in like Canada where he was making nothing, just working like at a farm or something like that. And then he just went all in all the time and built this whole freaking company, you know? And so that kind of level of dedication and passion as the center point to your brand and your company allows these kind of companies to exist, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's replicatable where people will try, but these people are not normal. These individuals and the people who they bring on their teams and their vision is not something that everybody can have.
Yeah, see, I always wonder, like, how there are a lot of people who are not normal in the same way, who use their abnormality and ambition or ideas or whatever to be like drug dealers or terrorists.
There are some really smart ass drug dealers and terrorists.
Yeah,
right?
like they would be moguls if they just sold printers instead of crack.
Well, that's the crazy thing is, the interesting. I've met drug dealers and people like that who are genius and fantastic at selling their products. They
Mhm.
just need to sell a
Some
legal
legal.
product. Like this, they wake up. They can hustle. Like the
Yeah.
hustle is so hard,
Hmm.
and it just needs to be focused in a different direction.
Right.
Because if you're capable of basically coming up from nothing and then hustling your ass off and holding, everything together,
Right.
it could be put to better use. Although the money might not be as lucrative off the front, but still.
Yeah. See, and I like my ambition is to be, because I have like if I just rattled off ideas that I have, like it's just stuff that just requires hell of money. And by hell of
Yeah,
money,
me
I
too.
mean hell of money, and it has nothing to do with music. Like uh, we were looking earlier at Falcon Heavy, which
Yeah.
is Elon Musk's rocket. It's like how crazy is that? Like
Yeah.
but I listened to his autobiography, not his autobiography, his biography, and they were talking about how he had mentioned self-driving cars to like some girl that he was dating in college, and like the seeds for these things like sustainable energy, going to Mars, all of these things that he's doing now were sort of planted and watered over time. I'm always, I don't know, in music, of course, you get to do a lot of things. I can podcast, I can
Sure.
shoot a vlog or put out a project, and I'm always trying to figure out like at what point does one pivot to another passion. Of course, I would assume, and sort of the plan that I've been having is to wait until I can financially.
Sure.
But I wonder how many people there are who have been in jobs that they don't like, and they have money to say like, I've set aside X amount of dollars, like I want to do something else.
And they just go do it or they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is that thing that pushes them over the edge or the lasso to kind of bring them back to like, nah, stay at your job?
I think it is. I think it becomes overwhelming at the point. I know that it did for me. I know that I felt it prior.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of people. The crazy part is that, and yet again, this is so weird because it's yet again a Gary Vee thing. But there's been such serious inspiration. Like there's so many freaking ways you can make money now. Like the fact that we're on a live broadcast on basically a small computer that is capable of basically making money for us if we utilize it in the right way
Right.
is astounding, right? So there's so many ways, but you just have to be willing to go do those things.
Yeah.
What is it? Like, I mean, for me, after I got away from that job, I realized, well, oh shit, like I don't want to go get another job.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And then I said, okay, well, why don't I do Airbnb? And so then I just switched, but out of necessity, right?
Right.
And I was at a point where I'm saying, no more money is coming in. What are you going to do? Are you going to cave and not go ahead and go for this? Or are you going to figure out how to generate income?
Right.
Right. And I think that's the question that some people either answer it for themselves or they have doubts.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's really telling of who people are, like what decisions you make in those
Sure.
moments. And for me, like I've had a lot of moments where I made like the wrong decision at the wrong time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I won't say I can't. It's damn near impossible for me to work a 9-to-5 job.
Oh, I'm learning very
It's-
quickly that I
it's
probably
just I'm unhireable. Like you give me. I mean, I'm great in interviews. I can
Yeah,
do the job. It's just when I get there, like you really have to put up with not knowing if I'm coming back. Because it's like this is not doing anything.
Well, I feel that why am I making somebody else money?
Yeah, for their vision.
Yeah.
Somebody
I
that's
want-
not loyal to you.
Like this is my life.
Right.
Right? What do I want to put out there? What do I and that some people don't really, some people are really good at working at those kind of jobs.
Yeah, and we need those people.
Yeah, they're really good at it. And I feel that I've had conversations with individuals over time and people who are very good at being in that position, you know, at a corporation or at a business, and they're content and they're happy to stick that out. They like their team that they work with and everything. But I always wondered, I was always questioning it. I said, but don't you want more?
Yeah.
What is it? Like, what is it? Like, I know that the money's good. Like, you'll be thing, but like, don't you want more? Like, that's such something that like boils up in me. And I'm like, what do I want? How do I get it? Right. So, you know, I think about that and I realize that yet again, it's just different people, you know, and same things. Like I go make mistakes. I go try things that don't work. I mean, think I'm going to go into one thing and then one thing doesn't work. Or, you know, one time I thought I was going to buy antique stoves and flip them.
That sounds very, very niche.
Yeah, because
it's incredibly specific.
Yeah, antique stoves. My parents own a 1964 Frigidaire dual oven, and for a Christmas one year I completely tore it apart and cleaned it and put it all back together and did everything.
Wow. And
then I realized after looking up all the parts and everything that these things sell for a lot of money.
Wow.
Like, you know, like $1,000 more for these 50, 60-year-old ovens. And they're in junkyards and they're places, and like all you got to do is grab them, clean them, and sell them. And I was like, well, shit. So I took my father on some goose chase across Missouri to St. Louis to grab 2 freaking stoves in a rental truck and take them back. And then once I got them back to the house and I started working on them in the basement, and I got through like a half of a job. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. I don't think this is a good idea anymore.
Oh no!
And so then you stick they're in the freaking thing, and I end up having to sell them for a loss. And I realize, you know, you can't jump on everything, but that's just part of the deal for me. Like, just keep going and trying things. Yeah. You know.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you think there was anything redeemable in that career choice?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to do it at scale. Yet again, it'd have to be like something that I would throw everything into. And I realize it's like I can realize pretty quick whether it's going to be one of those things or not. You know,
right?
I might realize a little late sometimes, but you know, if it doesn't have that, damn, I'm excited to get up in the morning thing. Then you know,
why do it? Yeah.
So
what you do now? You work with. You make a lot of people's dreams real.
I try. I'm trying.
So like in having clients, and I don't know your client roster, so I can't talk specifically about it, but like I've had clients before that I'm like, dude, I don't know if you're gonna make it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't. Of course, you never tell anybody that, but
of course, but you know.
Yeah, in that, like, how do you cater to that? You know, like, what is it that you do to mine out of people what best fits them in their possible success?
So I feel that in the business that we're in, that I do think this is still survival of the fittest when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
You know, I think that certain people have what it takes and the grit necessary to really achieve their dreams.
Of course.
And some people just don't. But that doesn't mean those other people are, you know, not as passionate or anything. Maybe they simply just don't have the tools necessary in their current state to do that. Right. But what the thing is for me is, you know, the best part about it, you know, is giving people information. Like, the best part about it for me, and the reason I find it so rewarding, is the look on people's faces when you provide them something of serious value and they feel good about themselves, promotes them to do more things. Yeah. You know, it promotes them to work harder, right? So it's whether, you know, and it's the littlest things. Like, it's not even, it's not like I have to do a whole website for somebody to appreciate it. It's, you know, me logging on at 9:30 at night saying, hey man, I'm working on this. I'm really excited for all this kind of stuff. Or, you know, or watching them move forward in their careers or their brands or the things like that, and they're like, man, I'm selling shirts, or man, I sold more records, you know, I sold my CDs. Or, you know, just the other day I had a client who said, you know, the video that you posted, the reach that happened got me interview with somebody to put me on the radio.
Wow.
Right? And that means that what I'm doing is helping them provide and move forward. But then the thing is, it's like, but then there's people that come into my office sometimes, and I say, I listen to some of their music, or I see what they're doing, or maybe they already do a project, and we finish the project, and then their delivery after the finish of the project is not always what I had hoped it would be.
I see.
And so then it's me. I have to, one, not take it personally. It's not my thing, what they want to do. But sometimes it does because I want people to succeed.
Yeah.
I want people to, achieve what they want, and I want them to take and heed to go harder on the things that they really love.
Right.
But sometimes the best thing for me is I try to steer people, if I feel that they may not just be ready yet, whether that's with music, but if they're producer but their beats are not where they need to be yet. I try to tune my advice to them to be, I try to provide them with valuable insight there and push them towards resources that help them do that, while still telling them that they have my time if they need it.
Right. Do you like working with people?
I do. Some people. I mean, not all people.
Of course, they're difficult people.
Yeah, so there's some difficult people, but I think there's a challenge in working with different individuals.
Yeah.
And I think the last 10 months of my life, I've worked with the most diverse amount of individuals, but it's only geared me up for handling more different kinds of people, because I like working with people. I like seeing the value that I provide turn into something for people.
Yeah.
I like seeing.
See, I like talking to people. I like getting to know people, but I don't like working for people.
Okay.
Even like clients.
Okay.
And if any of my clients are listening or watching, I'm so sorry. But if you're a client of mine, there has been a time in our relationship where I hated you.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest about that to myself, because I have to know I can't make this a career.
Yeah.
I can't do it because meeting other people's demands is hard for me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's easy on a skill level. I can make it happen, but just intellectually, I'm just over it at times. I don't know.
I think I've had some clients like that where, I think it comes to a point where I'm like, gosh, I'm ready to get this over with, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to finish this project so that I can get this off my plate.
Right. I don't like that feeling.
I know, and I have to, but the thing is, for me, it's I have to work through it, otherwise, because for me, yet again, it's the customer service, it's the client,
Right.
it's the client service that's so important for this
You got
stuff.
some really cool projects. You were doing Guru style. Can I talk about one of your clients?
Sure.
Chef Guru, he was actually in earlier with District Biscuit House. I've never been so hungry in my life. I was looking at the commercial with the biscuit and the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's like a chicken family slaughter I could get behind.
The District Biscuit House and Guru is a incredibly motivated. He is he's a maker and a doer. He does it. He's a private chef. He has a catering company. He's worked and he's been trained as a chef, and
he's positive. Every time I see him,
positive.
I've known him through music too over the years, and every time that I see him, he's always very inspired.
Yeah.
Do you get that from him?
Yeah, and that's why I like working with people like that and him. The District Biscuit House. Basically, the trend is people love food, and if food's on the Facebook feed, you're gonna get a like and you're gonna get a comment.
Especially when it looks like that, it's dripping. Was that honey? Or?
Yeah, it was honey.
Oh my god!
We set up the slider and I shot it and had him pour honey over it as we shot it, and I kind of wanted to make it into a cinematograph.
Yeah.
But it ended up just being so delicious looking.
Yeah. However it looked, it was.
And I was just thinking to myself, and that idea, I mean, it's been done. It's a Carl's Jr. thing. It's a Hardee's thing, but it's about. Because people are emotional, and they get a reaction immediately out of it, and that's what you want to tie to your brand.
Yeah.
So when people envision District Biscuit House, they're envisioning that.
Yeah, And just to, oh Lord, and just to, let me look how to spell it. For anybody that's listening or watching, that's district KT, bis KUIT. You like how I did the phonetics on that?
There we go.
Or no, I don't know. But yeah, you did a really nice job on that, and
Thanks.
with the Cajun place.
Yeah, I did. I did some work. I'm continuing to do work for Casey Cajun, which is a food truck and catering business. You're gonna catch Casey Cajun out during the first Fridays and in the spring.
That commercial made me hungry, but it was just really impressive.
I think this has kind of been my mantra when it comes to quality of service and product. When it comes to this, it is I do not have the best gear. I don't have the best stuff.
You wouldn't be able to tell. If you would have told me you shot that on the red with a whole squad of 12 people, I'd have been like, that makes sense.
Yes, but the thing is, it's that, and I was telling him too, I said it is the patience and the time you have to like visualize it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And say, what do I want of this? Right? So, I'm seeing it in my head.
444, by the way.
444. Oh, is it 444?
Yeah, something amazing's happening in the world. Love, love, love.
But you have to, it's patience and it's time and it's being considerate and empathetic of what the client and what the product should be.
Yeah.
And you realize that the technology that we have can be used deeper than we're using it.
Absolutely.
Like I honestly believe that if I had an iPhone X, I could have shot the same thing if I would have gone, and if I decided that I needed to get on my hands and knees and move it with my hands super slow to get the movement, it would have happened.
Right.
It's just about the effort that goes in.
That's true.
Rather than, yes, you can't get 4K footage without a 4K camera.
I mean, but your phone, they don't show 4K.
Yeah, but what you can get is composition, lighting, all that kind of stuff.
Stuff that requires you to actually think.
Yes, more so than just the specs.
Right. So do you like doing this and working with people more than music, like making music?
I think... I don't know. I've always wanted to be a musician. I've been a musician all my life. I don't know if I like it more, but I think I find this equally as rewarding.
Really?
I have always had a dream of making music and being on stage and everything, and I've wanted to do that. I think it's been on the back burner because I feel a necessity to make something for myself, which is HMG. I think they are, when I make a good song, when I make something that I am proud of, I feel good.
Yeah. And
that is the same feeling that I'm getting from HMG stuff.
Dope.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sometimes I've watched it happen in my own life, and where other people, like when you do something other than, let's just say music, because we're talking about music. When you do something other than music, it's somewhat of a compromise, but it's good to know that like you like it just as much. Because
right now money's not involved with making music. I make music because I just want to make music, right? I just made some random EDM track today, but it was simply because I felt creative. I had a moment in my life when it was about money, or when it was about what it was going to be my career, and then the moment it started switching to that is the moment I started backing away from music, which is weird to me. I started feeling a little bit repulsed, and I think people go through that.
Absolutely.
And it hasn't happened on my current client stuff and all that, though.
Yeah. So. That's good, and it's probably because of the variety.
Creativity can be packaged and put in so many things. I can be creative with video. I can be creative with audio, with graphic design, just like when it's out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
But the ability to transport the same feeling, emotionally, into things, allows it to have more longevity for me.
Dope, man. What's one thing? One thing that you have learned in the last 10 months, you gave that time frame earlier. What's one thing you learned in the last year, in the last 10 months, that it took you that amount of time to learn?
I'm still learning it. I think the biggest challenge that I've had is both patience, going with my gut. The 2017 and onwards for me was all was a shitstorm, basically, for me.
Seems like it was that way for everybody.
It was a shitstorm, man. 2017, early 2017, up until I was a shitstorm because I knew my job was coming to an end. I knew I didn't want to do that. It was coming to a precipice where it was like I can't be there anymore.
Right.
But the biggest thing is that, and what I realized in 2016 and 15, and when I look back on that, is my gut reaction was so much closer to reality than I gave it credit for.
Wow.
Right? So like did I need I could have quit my job, in August of 2016, or I could have stopped other things in my life early, but I chose not to because I chose to ignore that. So what I've learned in 2017 and then now 18 and then the 10 months here is really if you feel it and you have some kind of validation towards it, there's most likely a reason for it, and you must act on it. You must do it. So like when it came to working with unlabeled music services, working here, I felt that I needed to go and work here, and I wanted to provide value and make a difference. I wanted to make an impact on the community here. So anyways, I think the biggest thing I learned is going with your gut and learning to trust that instinct deeper.
Yeah. Trust your instincts. I like that. Look, man, 444 has come and gone. I don't know. I feel like it's a good conversation. It's necessary for me, because I was actually, out at this meeting, and we were talking through some things that I had to decide on, like fairly soon. Mm-hmm. And he said, "What does your gut tell you?" And I was like, I don't know. But it's and I like now sitting and thinking about what we were talking about. I know what my gut is telling me. It's just now owning up to the reality of, like you're talking about,
Sure.
like your reality and your gut are saying the same thing. So act on it. That's timely advice, Cesar. Haze, what do you want to be called?
Cesar.
All right.
I don't want to be named the same thing as my company.
I got you.
It's hard. People attribute it like that, so it's like, I'm Cesar. I used to be Haze.
We've been calling you Haze.
They've been calling me Haze since they met me, though. So
Right.
It's no worries. I don't really care.
So how can people find? Well, give two things. Give a brief synopsis of what you do.
Okay.
Or I guess what you're looking for.
Sure.
And then a overview of where people can actually take advantage of that.
Sure. So I own a small business, Haze Media Group. Haze Media Group specializes in creative services, digital marketing, web development, and brand management for small businesses and creators. That's freelancers, that's photographers, videographers, graphic designers, musicians, people who need a brand and need help. I provide guidance consulting for those people. And if you're hungry and if you really want to succeed and move on these things that you're passionate about, I would so be happy to talk to you guys about it. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify, all under Haze Media Group. And so Craig, thank you so much for having me on.
Man, thank you for coming, dude. Again, the incomparable? The incomparable. The majestic. The
Stop talking about yourself, man.
Craig Smith. No. Cesar, thank you so much for being here. Again, the Craig Smith podcast, episode 3. Go back and listen to some earlier episodes. There were only 2, one of which is a great conversation I had with my friend, my brother, the Grammy nominated producer, Mr. Joseph Macklin. The other is just some insight from my own life. Remember, love is law. 444 is love, love, love. You can find me at I Am Craig Smith everywhere. Feel free to reach out. Follow Haze Media Group wherever you are, and don't be no bum. I don't know what that was about. Tune in next time.